So you're thinking about moving to Colorado. Well, buckle up because it might not be what you think. Before you pack your bags for the Rocky Mountain dream, there are some hard truths you need to know. Things that no one tells you until it's too late. From skyrocketing home prices to unpredictable weather and even hidden costs that could drain your wallet, Colorado might not be for everyone. So before you make the move, let's dive into the 10 things you must know from the perspective of a Colorado native. The first thing you must know before moving to Colorado, it's probably what you think, it's the cost of living. I'm sure many of you here, Colorado has gotten expensive, and depending on where you're relocating from, you're probably gonna wanna know what to expect the average cost will be for groceries, utilities, insurance, and your housing, and whether or not you can maintain a lifestyle that's going to make sense for you. We're gonna break this down into the average home price, what you can expect from a monthly payment standpoint. I'm gonna even share with you what you can expect for some of your most common groceries, like milk, bread, eggs, and chicken. But the first one, we'll just briefly touch on home prices. I'm saving this for an actual subject at the end of the video, but roughly, on average, a single family home in the Denver metro area of Colorado is $770,000. See, the home prices in Metro Denver from 2010 to now in 2025 have jumped nearly 120 to 150% depending on the area. And for renters, they're feeling the squeeze too, as rental prices have increased over the years as well, making a 2-bed, 1-bathroom in Denver cost roughly $2,300 a month. And I would say, guys, that's on the low end. If you're looking for a 3 or 4-bedroom, those prices could be upwards of $3,000 to $4,000 plus. We'll get into housing more later in the video. Let's talk about insurance premiums, groceries, and where Colorado ranks amongst the nation. As you can see here, on a data series done by Missouri Economic Research and Information Center across the United States, Denver ranks 32 in cost of living. So we're definitely not the worst, we're definitely not the best, we're kind of on the higher ends relative to all 50 states. Now, I found a really cool calculator here that you guys can see. I will link it down below, and it really breaks out the cost of living from restaurants and markets and transportation, utilities, etc. And it even gives you a calculator on all of this so you can break down the cost of living per your lifestyle. It even gives you the ability to input how many members of your household are there. But if we look at the common groceries, we all know inflation's been up and our grocery bills have skyrocketed, at least here in Colorado. For milk, you can expect to pay anywhere from about $3.19 to $4 per gallon. For your loaf of bread, you're looking at $3.50 for the lower priced bread loaves. For chicken, you're at about $5 per pound. And for eggs, the lowest one I could find before doing this video was $5.49, and that was discounted from the average, which is right around $8 for a dozen eggs. Guys, I will tell you from my experience, I have a family of 5. We're spending anywhere from about $200 to $300 a week on groceries. It has gotten expensive. What was once $150 to $200 is now almost doubled. Now, we eat a lot of home cooked meals. Your lifestyle might be different, and as you can see from the resource I'm providing here, you can equate that into your monthly budget of what the cost of living would be for your household in specific. Now, some of the other things we're going to get into here in a second in this video are going to be insurance premiums, property taxes, and home affordability to really get a well-rounded view of what the cost of living is going to be like here in Denver, Colorado. Ultimately, guys, if you're packing up the bags for the Rocky Mountain dream, we want you to know what to expect before you get here. And so be sure to stay tuned as we get into more about housing affordability, the skyrocketing insurance premiums in Colorado, and more. That rounds out the cost of living in Colorado. It's not the worst, it's certainly far from the best. And I would say overall, guys, the cost of living here in Colorado is definitely high, with articles stating you need over 6 figures to buy a house, which is far above the $71,000 median income here in Colorado. Now let's get into our number 2 thing you must know before coming to Colorado, and we're gonna talk about traffic. What is that commute going to be like for you if you're working anywhere within a 10 to 20 to 30 minute distance away from your home? And guys, I will tell you, being a native, traffic has gotten terrible here in Colorado. Specifically, if you look on a map, I-25 and I-70, whether you're taking I-70, which is the major highway all the way into the mountains and the ski resorts, or you're taking I-70 a little bit out east, those highways have major congestion. Colorado ranked 15th among the most congested cities. So again, not the worst, but certainly far from the best. And I will tell you guys, when I was a kid growing up, even in high school and in my earlier days, traffic was not all that bad. It was what you would expect. But nowadays, if you're caught up on I-25, even in midday, it's likely you're going to hit traffic and it will absolutely prolong your commute. Not to mention, guys, Denver's public transportation is behind the times, and they're struggling to get it to a point where we really limit the traffic congestion. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Colorado, Colorado's a little bit more spaced out, as are a lot of the West Coast metros, as opposed to East Coast where it's jam-packed. Public transportation is going to be much better than you might find here in Colorado. And while they're making improvements and have plans in place to limit traffic, and there's construction absolutely everywhere, probably adding to the problem of traffic as they play catch up, it's a positive that they're working and trending in the right direction to try to fix this problem. But no doubt, guys, if you're coming to Denver Metro, you can expect traffic on your commutes. One of the worst being, if you're headed up to the mountains, you're absolutely going to hit traffic, and you definitely don't want to be caught going up or down the mountain on a Friday afternoon for people going up for the weekend, or a Sunday where people are commuting back from the mountains. It's likely going to add hours to your drive that you absolutely need to plan for, which, guys, this leads me to my number 3 thing you must know about living in Colorado. Before we dive in that, I just want to encourage you guys, if you're finding value in these videos, like and subscribe to the channel. We have new videos every week, including a live Denver Metro market update, and I am myself a licensed agent, have been here in Colorado for the past 10 years. And if you guys need any help, have other questions specific to your arrangements, feel free to reach out to me at the contact information below, or schedule a Zoom call directly with me at the link below. The number 3 one is going to be booking in advance outdoor activities. Being a native from Colorado, it used to be that on the weekends, sure, there was traffic going up to the mountains. There were definitely some tourists or locals fishing or hiking, but it was nowhere near the type of traffic and congestion that you'll find today as you go up into the mountains and explore one of the highlights of Colorado, the Rocky Mountains. Many campgrounds around the 42 Colorado state parks require upfront reservations. It used to be, guys, that if you wanted to go pitch a tent, bring an RV up, you just go that weekend. Well, I'm here to tell you now that's not the case, because I have clients that go up quite frequently. They have their RVs. They're those people that want to be in the mountains every weekend, and they have to plan in advance their campgrounds and their stays well ahead of time, or else the reality is, with overpopulation, tourists coming to see the Rocky Mountains, it's going to be very, very hard to get a campsite if you're booking that weekend, even sometimes a month out. A statistic that might blow your mind is, out of the 42 Colorado state parks, we saw 18.2 million visitors. That's up 30% from pre-pandemic times. Now, guys, I'm gonna give you a trick that likely only a local or native knows, and that is to go up during the week. If you guys wanna go fishing, hiking, plan a time to go camping, go Monday through Friday. It's the best kept secret that no one's telling you about, in order to have the peace and quiet of walking through the trails, staying overnight as you guys camp, and even fishing, and then you avoid the traffic congestion and all the other people that are going up on the weekends when they're off of work. So tell your boss you need a couple days, sneak out into the Rocky Mountains and enjoy one of the beauties of Colorado. Guys, it's, well, the secret's out, but it used to be one of the best kept secrets of Colorado. It is absolutely amazing going into the Rocky Mountains. And look, if you can't cut it on the weekday, it's worth the travel traffic to go out into the Rocky Mountains. We have some of the best 14ers, hiking trails, fishing lakes that you can imagine out in nature while still being a fairly close commute to Denver or where you're living, so that you're not having to drive 4 to 10 hours to get into the mountains. One of the things you might need to consider before planning your trips into the mountains is the fourth thing you must know, which is Colorado has some bipolar weather. The saying goes, if you don't like the weather, wait for 5 minutes. From shorts and short sleeves on Monday to tracking through snow on Tuesday. Guys, Colorado here has some of the most drastic changes in weather that you may have ever experienced. But that is also one of the beauties. As you can see on the YouTube video, I'm in shorts and short sleeves on Christmas. It was an absolutely beautiful day. And guys, I will tell you, if we're at 60 degrees here in Colorado in winter, this will probably be one of the most robust real estate markets ever, because the one thing people don't like about Colorado is it can get very cold and we can have snowy winters. But here's the secret, it's not all that bad. And while there is snow and very, very cold temperatures at times, you could also be in the middle of winter with 60 degrees outside. But you better make sure you bring the coat, even if you don't think of it, because it could be 60 in the morning time all the way down to 20 or 10 degrees as the sun's going down. That is just the way Colorado works. In fact, one December day, Denver dropped from 50 degrees at noon to -15 at dawn when we had a cold front come through in December. Now, that doesn't happen often, but it can, and welcome to Denver's weather. Now, how is it in the summers? Guys, it's hot. And what you'll experience is it's really hot during the day. You typically get afternoon showers during the afternoon, and then you have these really amazing warm summer nights. And that is the beauty of Colorado weather, is you really do have quite a bit of sunshine, not just in summer, but fall, winter, and spring. You almost have it every day. And even though the weather can be bipolar, it is something I love about living here in Colorado. But if you can't take the cold, it does snow, and you want a little bit more consistency in the weather, Colorado might not be for you. And talking about weather, let's get into natural disaster risks and why that has increased insurance premiums. The biggest natural disasters you have to worry about that are specifically driving up insurance premiums are going to be hailstorms and wildfires. Guys, Colorado is known for their hailstorms. It almost happens every year, and it's kind of the luck of the draw of where you're living, whether or not you're going to get hit by a big one or a small one. But undoubtedly, it's likely you're going to have some bit of a hailstorm. And why that's increased insurance premiums is because 50 to 60% of all home insurance premiums here go towards hail damage alone. You're talking hail damage to roofs, windows, and siding. Now, guys, I'm a native. I've been here. They're nothing to be scared about typically, but they do happen. And when a hailstorm comes in, if it's big enough, it can certainly damage your roof. And you definitely want to have an insurance claim so that you're not left paying the full replacement cost of a roof when you go to resell your house. And because of the amount of hailstorms we've had, especially in the past 5 to 10 years, insurance premiums have had to go up, let alone wildfires. In 2021, we had the Marshall wildfire that devastated over 1,000 homes in the suburban area of Boulder and Superior. Insurance have paid over so many claims for those homes, and anytime you have a big event like that, insurance premiums tend to rise. In fact, some insurance companies aren't even renewing plans and are exiting the Colorado market entirely. The cost of homeowners insurance ranks 8th highest in the US for the cost of homeowners insurance. Auto insurance also ranks one of the highest in the country, not only due to hail damage, but auto theft. Stay tuned. We'll get into crime and what you can expect here in Colorado, but we want to move on to 6 things you must know before moving to Colorado. And we're going to stay on the subject of costs and expenses, particularly property taxes. Now, guys, relatively speaking, Colorado is quite low in property tax, likely because we have income and state taxes and sales taxes, all tends to even out, but it really helps home affordability that we have lower property taxes. But the thing no one's telling you is that Metro District property taxes are what you need to look out for, because that could nearly double the amount of property taxes you pay on your property. Now, what is a metro tax district? Generally speaking, if you're buying in a new build community, you are going to run into a special tax district. Those new communities, when building infrastructure, will pull out bonds to pay for the development, and homeowners repay that debt through the special tax district, which is called a metro district. For example, in Castle Rock, metro districts collected $32 million in property taxes, while the town's government collected only $1.4 million. Some neighborhoods in Aurora, Colorado, you could be paying $6,000 in property tax as opposed to $3,400 in property tax on the same price property. Here's an incredible example for you guys. If we look at these three properties, you have two in metro districts where property taxes are $6,100 and $5,100, where you have a house very close in proximity to the metro districts, relatively the same price, where you're only paying $3,400 a month in taxes. And so you have to take that into consideration when you're moving to a higher cost of living state like Colorado. Every cent counts in order to limit the expense of your lifestyle, and property taxes will absolutely count when thinking about purchasing and what your monthly payment is on an already kind of unaffordable housing market, which we'll get to here soon. Guys, remember, like and subscribe to the channel. You wouldn't believe how many of our viewers aren't actually subscribed. And so if you're looking for great insights like we're giving today, even community tours and some educational content, be sure to subscribe or reach out to us down below at the contact information. Now, something a lot of people don't realize about Denver is that things are changing downtown. Guys, pre-pandemic, downtown was an amazing place to go. It was flourishing. We had a really good food scene, but when the pandemic came, we had a net loss of 222 restaurants from mid-2002 to mid-2023. That's a huge loss of restaurants, not to mention because of the remote work, downtown office vacancies are around 25%. And so when you pull out the population of Denver, these shops and restaurants are struggling to get the activity they need in order to keep those doors open. Not to mention, guys, homelessness in Metro Denver jumped 32% from 2022 to 2023, and encampments became more common near the city center. I've read articles, there are articles of some business owners report customers and employees feeling unsafe due to open drug use and theft around the premises. Even though downtown's changed and it's not like it used to be, there are some positives. One, we're already seeing statistically violent crime in downtown dip, and there are major projects renovating the 16th Street Mall, which is kind of the focal point of downtown Denver, converting empty offices to apartments. And if you read in this article, something I'm very, very excited about is they are looking to revitalize Denver. And in fact, Denver has successfully approved more than a $500 million investment into downtown, revitalizing the area, rebranding the area, potentially even changing the 16th Street Mall's name. And they're really looking to increase the vibrancy of downtown, restoring the community and bringing it back to that amazing place that, quite frankly, guys, from my perspective, it still is, but it can absolutely use some restoration. And even though this might be a sore spot from some perspectives and articles, it's something I'm really, really excited about, that they're putting focus. They know there has been a problem since COVID and they're working on fixing it. But guys, if you can't stand that and you can't wait around for things to improve in the metro area, then maybe Denver's not for you. And so definitely do your research, look into downtown, but that's kind of the gist of what's happened, what's happening, and what we hope to happen going forward into the future. But knowing all this, you guys might wonder, what are crime rates and safety concerns around Denver and Colorado? Well, guys, I'm gonna give you my perspective as a native, but first I wanna share with you something that kind of caught me off guard. When I was doing my research and getting statistics for you guys, I would put in Google crime rates for Denver, and I found things like Denver's ranked the 8th highest in the nation for violent crime, 4th highest in auto theft, and 4th highest for property crime. Now, as a native, guys, you hear about it, and I think wherever you live, there's higher crime, and other places in the same city or general area, there's lower crime. And I would say for myself, sure, I hear about it, but I personally, thankfully, knock on wood, haven't had much of an issue with crime. I tend to actually feel really safe in Colorado in most areas and most parts, and relatively speaking, I was kind of shocked to hear these statistics. Now, what was interesting is when I Googled, is Colorado safe? I run into articles that says, yes, Colorado has a lower violent and property crime rates compared to national averages. Certain cities are extremely safe thanks to affluent properties and dedicated police departments. However, large cities tend to have more crime, so research specific areas. So on one hand, I Google what the crime rates are and it looks scary and there's a narrative built in, but when I say is Colorado safe, there's articles that say yes, it is safe, and there's also narrative built in. So what I would say, guys, is do your own research. I myself, I love Colorado, and relatively speaking, I feel safe. I don't think Colorado is crime ridden, but just like any city, if you look at crime statistics, you'll find them. There's an article here of the top 10 safest places to live in Colorado. And guys, please know, a disclaimer, I'm not saying one area is better than the other. I'm just sharing with you some of the research I found and done, and also my take as a native in what I'm experiencing here in Colorado. Now, guys, we're nearing to the end of the video. We've got 2 other topics and a bonus topic we will get into, but I just want to say, guys, thanks for joining the channel. We do this to educate you guys so you understand Colorado better and are able to make the best choice for you as to whether or not this makes sense to relocate here. And ultimately, we want you to know what to expect before you come and purchase a property here in Colorado. And so make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And let's get into something that not a lot of people talk about, and it's overpopulation and growth issues. Guys, the state's population boomed by 14.8% from 2010 to 2020, nearly twice the national average. And guys, we've already talked about traffic, so we know that the population of Colorado has grown, evident in the congestion we find ourselves in when we're driving to Denver during the morning or coming back in the afternoon. Now, what's interesting is 95% of Colorado's growth the last decade was along the Front Range, along I-25 from Denver to Colorado Springs, all the way up to Fort Collins. And guys, if you lived here, you would attest to, yeah, along that corridor, there has been absolutely astonishing growth from new subdivisions to retail and restaurants and shopping. And every city is becoming kind of their own big city with all the amenities you need. You don't have to drive into Denver any longer, or 20 minutes. Generally speaking, wherever you live, you're gonna have what you need. And if you don't, within a quick 10 to 15 to 20 minute drive, depending on where you're at, as long as you're in and around the I-25 corridor, you're going to find what you need. However, guys, there is a overpopulation and growth issue. And because of how many people moved here in quick order, Colorado's struggling, scrambling, trying to build infrastructure to provide for the overgrown population. We need new highways, expanded light rails, bigger airports, and what you'll find when you come to Colorado is there's construction just about everywhere. And even as big as Denver International Airport is, I would say every time I've been there over the last 10, maybe plus years, there's construction going on. They're constantly evolving, trying to keep up with the pressures of not just population, but tourism, and being one of the main hubs in the United States for travel. And guys, I would say one of the biggest issues from a lifestyle perspective is when you go out to do things on the weekend, many times it's packed, especially in the Rocky Mountains, as we've talked about. Now, the counties with the highest growth have been Weld and Broomfield, which grew over approximately 30% in population in the last decade, turning ranch lands into subdivisions. Now, as Metro Denver expands, communities are going to have to grapple and figure out how to accommodate growth, sustainability. We're talking about transportation, we're talking about traffic and roadways, and we're also talking about water and certain things like that for infrastructure. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. What's the housing market like? What can we expect to pay from a monthly payment standpoint if we're buying a $500,000 to $700,000 home? And is it even possible possible to purchase here in Colorado. Being a realtor in the past 10 years, I have a ton of experience knowing not just what the articles are stating, but what we're finding boots on the ground. So you actually know what to expect when moving to Colorado. As we said, guys, in Denver Metro, the average price is $770,000. Prices grew roughly 120 to 150% since 2010, and most articles you're going to read are going to say you need roughly 6 figures to afford to purchase in Denver Metro. And while property prices have leveled off since we've been in a higher rate environment since mid-2022, home prices are still out of reach for a lot of buyers. If you're looking at a $500,000 to $550,000 house, you're paying upwards of $3,500 to $4,000 a month, sometimes even more, and that's below the average price. So unless you have a significant amount of money to put down on a house and decrease the monthly expenditure of the new house, you can expect to have to pay upwards of $4,000 plus a month to purchase a $550,000 to $600,000 house, of which you're likely going to have to expand into some of the suburban areas around Denver Metro. That's not all that bad, and if you follow the channel, we do community tours and show you all these amazing places where you can find reasonably approachable priced homes, and we also explore some of the luxury neighborhoods and some of the higher prices. The good thing about Denver Metro is there's a location for everyone, and so if we need to be below that average purchase price, or if you need to be above it, there's a place for you. And so even though Colorado typically ranks higher on the housing affordability list in regard to it being expensive, there's typically a place we can find you. But they are right in saying to comfortably afford an average price home, it's typical to need an average salary of over 6 figures. Now, what if you're renting? What is the average cost for that? Well, for a 3-bed, 2-bath home in and around the Denver area, you could be anywhere from $2,500 all the way up to $4,000 plus. So the rental market, guys, is also quite expensive, and you definitely need to equate that into your full financial picture before deciding to make a move. They say statewide, 78% of renters are paying at or over 30% of their income on housing, and I would go to state most homeowners are also paying that. For more on housing, guys, again, reach out to me down below. We can break down the actual numbers for homes that you might be looking to purchase, along with educating you on the different markets here in Colorado. Guys, the real estate market is hyper local. And so you can have a neighborhood in the same city and those be 2 different pricings. Those really act as 2 different markets. And so I encourage you, reach out so you can learn more about the real estate market here in Colorado. But I think we touched on housing affordability, and the reality is, guys, housing affordability in Colorado, it is high, and it costs a lot of money from a monthly payment standpoint to purchase relative to Colorado 5 to 10 years ago. Fortunately, pricing has skyrocketed, and even though it's kind of stabilized and even declined a little bit since the peak of 2022, overall, it's still expensive. And so before making the move, you definitely want to make sure, first off, you get qualified with a lender, you know what you can be approved for, and then you might start looking on Zillow or even come out to tour some different areas to determine whether or not you can achieve your goal of buying a house while also keeping an attainable monthly budget. Now, guys, for the last one, the bonus item that you must know before moving to Colorado is the dry climate health issues and potential of altitude sickness. Guys, when it becomes winter and it's cold and it's dry, my back starts hurting. I need to put lotion on because the moisture does not really exist in these high altitude areas. And so you can have dry skin or chapped lips and even have dehydration. So it's very important to know that we're not in a humid climate. It's not moisture. And while that could be a pro for others, it's definitely a con for some. You need to drink a lot of water, have the chapstick handy. And the reality is, guys, Colorado's UV radiation is about 25% stronger than sea level. And so in the hot of summer, you'll feel the heat of the sun all that much more because of our altitude. Now, one of the good parts in a dry climate is that means fewer dust mites and mold, which can help some. But on the other hand, pollen from native grasses, weeds, plus dry air can trigger allergies or asthma. Colorado's climate is healthy in many ways, but you must stay hydrated, moisturize, and definitely protect for the sun. Bring your sunscreen, don't forget. And remember guys, we talked about Colorado's weather being bipolar. You might not feel that it's a sunny day and you don't need sunscreen because it might feel a little cold going into the morning, even late morning, and all of a sudden it's 2 o'clock, the sun's beating down, and you get home and you're sunburnt everywhere. So be sure to bring a jacket, even if it's warm. Be sure to bring sunscreen because that's the reality in Colorado. And last but not least is altitude sickness. Generally, it takes 24 to 36 hours to be acclimated to a higher altitude. I have friends that grew up in Colorado. They had left, came back after 2 years to visit, and even from being here, they had altitude issues. Their feet were swollen, it was hard to breathe, and that's just the reality of living in Colorado. The good thing is, once you live here for a period of time, you get used to it, and it could be a pro, right? You hear NFL athletes all the time saying it's much harder to play here. Well, if you're from here, you're used to the altitude, and there is a bit of a pro there. For you guys thinking about making the move to Colorado, now you know some of the hard truths of what it's like actually living in Colorado, and hopefully can better determine whether or not the move to Colorado makes sense for you. And as I mentioned throughout the video, I am a local and licensed agent here in Colorado. I've been practicing for over 10 years. And guys, as much as I love making videos, we love to serve you and be your go-to real estate resource here in Colorado. My contact information is down below. Don't forget to please do it right now. You can see the subscribe button on your screen. Click it for me so you guys can have the best up-to-date information about the market itself while also being educated on what to expect in moving Colorado and even some neighborhood and community tours. Patrick Lorienti with Colorado Home Realty. Thank you so much for joining. All my contact information is down below, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.